Hey guys, it's Killer Manila here with part 1 of my in-depth guide to getting better at Call of Duty. So this will apply to all Call of Duties that made Call of Duty 4 and after basically. So I'm going to be doing in part 1 just the options menu, because I feel there's a lot of things that people overlook in the options menu that could really help them get better. So stick layout, for most people I'd leave that at default unless you play on anything else to start with, because you don't want to change that really. So the first major thing is button layout. So you have a choice between default and tactical, and either of those flipped, but it doesn't really matter whether it's flipped or not, it's what you're used to. So tactical switches knife with prone. So what you can do with tactical is go prone as you're shooting or turning or aiming, which allows you to drop shot basically, and it gives you, so if you wanted to duck behind cover, it makes it quicker to you to do than you would on default. So on default layouts, obviously what you have by default when you start the game up, if you've never been in the options menu before. But I'd highly recommend switching it to tactical, because it will allow you to drop shot. That makes you an extremely hard target to hit if you execute it well. But I'll be going more over how to execute it well in a later video. Default, its advantage is you can knife faster than you would be able to on tactical, but you don't really want to be relying on your knife all the time, because that only works in extremely close quarters, and the drop shot is basically just as effective in close quarters as the knife. So the biggest thing is sensitivity. So you want to custom, and you have a choice between 2 and 10. 1 is so slow it's not even worth bothering to try. 2 is what you have by default, so if you've never changed it, it will be on 2. So you have between 2 and 10. So I'd recommend, well, I'll explain it first. So the higher your sensitivity, the faster you can look around and move or whatever. And the lower your sensitivity, the more mechanical aim you have. So you have to move your stick further to achieve the same amount of movement, which means you have more control over how fast you're moving, and it's easier to make small adjustments. But it's hard to react quickly, especially if people aren't in the middle of your screen, if you've got a very low sensitivity. But it makes up for it in really long range combat. So what I'd recommend is you want it, if you're very defensive and you camp all the time, or you stick back a lot and kind of most of your fights are long range or on your terms, you can play between 2 and 4. I'd recommend, because 4 is about twice as fast as 2 actually, but it's still relatively low. So these sensitivities, you'll have very good aim at long distances, but what it suffers with is being able to react to things in the corner of the screen or turning on people. So if someone came up behind you and you're on 2, it will take some time for you to turn around, and most likely you'll practically never turn on anyone if you're playing on 2. 3 is well, just as it says, 2 to 4. Each one's slightly more sensitive than the last, but they're all good for long range. And with 4, you get a bit of the feel of being able to pick up targets in the corner of your screen, or twitch aim as you call it, but I'll go over that in another video. So if you're quite aggressive, not extremely aggressive, but quite aggressive, you'll probably want between, I'd say, 3 at the lowest, up to about 6 or 7. So I play on 6 personally because I'm quite aggressive. I don't really camp very much, but I'm not uber aggressive. I don't just run around the map like a headless chicken. So what this does is it lets you get the ability and these sensitivities to turn on people. So if someone came behind you, if you were playing on tactical, you could spin round, drop to the floor as you were spinning and shoot them. It's difficult to do, and I'll go over that in a later video. But you get the ability to turn on people at these sensitivities, and you get the ability to acquire targets faster. So the higher sensitivity, the faster technically you can acquire targets. But obviously some people who play on 2 will acquire targets way faster than some people who play on 10. It depends on how good you are with the controller, really. So I play on 6. So if you're extremely aggressive, you'll probably want between 5 and 10. So 10 is extremely fast. A lot of people play on 10 actually. A lot of the very rush heavy players will play on 10 because it allows you, at close range, it allows you to react extremely quickly to anyone you catch. Maybe on the corner of your screen, you're right there if you're on a very high sensitivity. So it gives you the ability to aim faster potentially than you could on a lower sensitivity, but it sacrifices aim at long range. Or you have much less mechanical aim than you do on 2, but you're trading it off for being able to react faster to what's happening, and you'll be able to turn on people easier with 10 because it's, well, I'll put it on 10 and show you how fast it is. If I'm playing on 10, that's how fast I can spin all the way around. So I mean, if you're used to playing on 2, I wouldn't jump to 10. If you want to be raising your sensitivity, you probably want to maybe put it up 1 notch, play for a few hours or even a couple of days, and then put it up another notch, rather than trying to jump 8 sensitivities in one go, because your aim will really be horrible if you do that. So the next thing is vibration. Look inversion doesn't really matter. For the most part, I'd go with it disabled. It does reduce from the experience slightly, but it makes it easier to react under pressure, or when you're getting shot at, or things are blowing up near you. It doesn't put you off. I mean, a lot of you will say, well, it doesn't put me off anyway, but it makes it a bit easier to aim when things are going on all around you. But you do get slightly more into the game if you have it enabled. But yeah. So the margins actually do make a difference. So if you've got a huge TV, basically what it's trying to accomplish with the margins is bringing your radar into your peripheral vision without obstructing your view. So if you've got a huge TV, you'll probably want your margins right in so that you can see your radar without having to physically look around the screen to try and find where it is, kind of thing. So you'll notice things on the radar a lot easier than you would otherwise if you've got your margins in so that you can see your radar. I mean, I play on a 22-inch monitor, so I can have it right at the edge and I can still see it at all times, so I've got a small screen. But if you've got a big, you want it so that you can see it in the corner of your eye without having to take your attention off the middle of the screen. And brightness. You want your brightness so that the thing that says not visible is visible, basically. It makes it easier to distinguish between black and dark grey. So in a dark room, if you have your brightness very low. You might not be able to see it so well on this. Where this, you can hardly see anything. I'll try and find a better cave. If you're going, so if there's someone in this corner, you cannot see anything on low brightness. You want it so that the thing at the top that says not visible is visible. That makes it so that dark greys are clearly different from blacks. So a lot of the time the opposing player might have a black costume on, and you'll be able to see them in a dark room like this very easily if you have your brightness so that high enough so that you can see in dark rooms. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed part 1. I'll probably start making part 2 now, which will be how to improve your gun skill. And I might do a bit in classes as well, and I'll just put a bit of video at the end showing you the drop shot in use. Anyway, see ya.
Repeat, Predator missile ready for launch. Harrier standing by. Friendly Harriers inbound.